Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in and welcome back. I'm sorry for the delay this morning. I have had one heck of a day already. My headphone jack on my computer is busted because my dog was underneath my desk and she pulled the jack out when she went to run to the door because somebody was at my door and it fucked up the jack. So I have to fiddle with it to be able to hear. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it is what it is. What is happening with you guys today? Are you guys having a good one? What is today? Tuesday, December 2nd. And we've got Callie coming in hot. Welcome to Cooterville, Callie. Thanks for joining. This is part 3 of the read-along and discussion that we're doing.
She says, welcome to Cooterville. Everybody close your legs. Everybody coming in, close your legs.
Close your legs.
He got the jack. Yeah, for real. Literally, she yanked the headphones out of the jack so hard. Ugh. I hate to duct tape it because it's a brand new computer, so I'm really bummed, but I'm sure it would be an easy fix if I took it somewhere, right? How you doing, Melissa Hex? Thank you for coming in this morning. Getting some snow, I hear you guys. Maybe I can... Oh, everybody needs a Grayson at the end of the day. Yeah. Yeah. Do it, lady. Yep, that's the culprit right there, Miss Bella. Blame it on the dog. Blame it on the alcohol. Hey, Purple Ivy. Hello, Cindy. It's been a morning. My 94-year-old client and said I didn't know how to make coffee or work the microwave. Hey, Mari in Michigan. Good to see you. Island Diva. NH Girl, Mari. I said Mari. Miss Fancy Pants, Creative Minds. Yeah, good thing she's a cutie. You'd fix it, but you're too far away. Thank you for the offer, though. Hey, Hidden True Slime. Good to see you. It's snowing in Utah. Shout out to Utah today. All right, guys. So I think I'm ready to read. I definitely was not ready this morning. So thank you for popping in this afternoon. If you haven't hit the like button, now is a good time to do that for me. Hey, Miss Fancy Pants, and hey, Jada. Hi, Coconuts. It's definitely not snowing here in Florida, but it's windy and humid. So I had to turn the air on today. I'm kind of bummed. Hello, Miss Colleen. Hello, Kat. I know, it's always something with the pups, but it is what it is. We love them. Hello, Wicked West. Okay, so where we left off yesterday, she's still married, I think. Wait. No, she got divorced. No, wait, what fucking happened? Look. Okay, so where we left off was she was driving to Salt Lake. Okay, now I remember. She was driving to Salt Lake, and then he said, turn around, and she did. And she said it was the loneliest drive she had ever had back to Boise. Yes, that is her main lawyer. TS. And there's more to those documents that I was not aware of. So that guy's something else. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Hey, Remy. And hello, BB in Finland. That's so cool. We have someone from Finland in here. So here we go. This is going to be Finding Change with Lauren Matthias. And we've had several hidden gems posting in the comment section that I'm going to get sued for reading this book. I know, Ark. You just sometimes got to stick with it, right? Okay, so here we have her driving back to Boise after her, her husband says, no, you need to just turn around. You need to go home. You ain't coming here. Have a good day, rich buddy. Thanks for popping in. If you could hit the like on your way out, that'd be wonderful. So here we go. Even in Finland, even in South Africa, my husband now knows Boise is in Idaho. Yeah, they kept saying I'm going to get sued. What you're doing is copyright infringement. Did you get permission from Lauren? It's like, did you know that Lauren gave out her book for free on the internet? So. All right, you guys, as the other times, I won't be looking at chat for a little bit, but I will get to your super chats and memberships when I take a little break because I want to get through the rest of this. Oh, the dumb gems. Bless their hearts. As I drove back to Boise, his words repeated in my mind. I will never allow it. He wouldn't allow me to visit. Even after all the times he desperately sought me out in Boise, when he believed the relationship was in trouble. Now that he had control, he ordered me to turn around. How could I have been so desperate? How did I find myself hundreds of miles from home on Valentine's evening, racing to a man who said he would never allow me to visit? A man who I had decided again and again I needed a divorce. I experienced such shame. Why did I allow someone to treat me this way? Why was it such a frightening idea to move on and make this permanent decision? My car pulled into Boise just after 11. Outside a bar, my coworkers were gathering. My girlfriends met me outside. They helped me put some makeup on my swollen eyes, and we walked inside. I experienced some solidarity. I was now divorced, finalized the moment I turn around, the moment I was told to turn around. I was now someone's ex-wife, a divorcee. Oh, Lauren. So many things I never planned to be, never wanted to be, but here I was, single, 35, and heading into a bar with friends on a Saturday evening. How did I get here? I thought about some of my childhood dreams. At age 9, clutching my sturdy number 2 pencil, I drew out my perfect future. It was a detailed picture. From a hardworking husband, 4 good-looking kids, a Mormon family who helped the homeless, a large home, and most importantly, a wishing well. Yes, let's not forget the wishing well. I always wanted to have hope and make wishes come true. Then there was the future I'd written up when I was 14, which included graduating from college. Check. Serving an LDS mission. Check. Falling in love and getting married in the Mormon temple. Check. Having kids. ... And then receiving my happily ever after like a sought-out after diploma. So I entered my marriage with the perfect fantasy, complete with a wishing well. Looking back, I realized this idealized story only created conflict. I refused to see my marriage for what it was, a dysfunctional soup that would never change. Wish me love a wishing well to kiss and tell. Love that song. Love it. My illusion of the perfect family, however, always created the possibility that it might change, that it might get better if I only waited a little longer and if I was only a little more understanding. My ex-husband kept promising the marriage would get better, although he would tell me how bad our marriage was repeatedly. Lauren, he would say all the time, we can't have children when our marriage is so bad. I would ask him what was so bad to try to fix it, because of course we could fix it, right? Everything can be fixed, I once naively thought. But he would never have an answer. It was just all bad all the time, unless I threatened to leave, and then it was tragic loss. I started to tell myself lies and create defense mechanisms to convince myself I was still on the right path. I just need to be more patient, I would think. The more we cling into our idealistic stories, the more likely we are to refuse to give them up, because we might have to admit we were wrong. We might have to admit that our lives did not go according to plan. We might have to admit that the complexity of our lives outstripped the simplicity of our illusions. I began to understand that the more deeply I clung to my story, the more I refused to let it go in the spite of reality. I continued to create more illusions, illusions on top of illusions, to justify staying so long, and the hole kept getting deeper. I blamed others in his life, or decided to use the excuse that the bad moments as temporary hiccups. He really didn't mean that, I would say, or that was bad timing, or he only did that once and everyone deserves forgiveness, or he was so kind yesterday, or he has such potential, or we've been through so much together we can't get through anything, or no one likes him like I do. He's a good man. Maybe it's just me. Fuck. God damn. Woo! That was a mouthful. When something burns us physically, we try to avoid it. When someone burns us emotionally, we try to fix them. I wanted everything my husband and I shared together to be true. I didn't want it to all be for nothing. No one does. We all want our experiences to be meaningful and valid. I thought if this love story was a facade, then I wasted my time, and I would negate anything of significance we shared together. I did not want to believe I wasted 5 years of my life in the wrong relationship. It would also mean I was incapable of picking a partner who was good for me. I wanted my marriage to feel meaningful. So I could feel I was on a unstable, solid ground again. And not after the years-long roller coaster ride that it really was. I clung so tight to my illusions about what my marriage could be when the reality was so different, incompatible with my dreams. But rather than get off the roller coaster and blaming the roller coaster, I kept riding into the sunset, thinking it would suddenly turn into a canoe ride on the lake. It never did. Canoe ride in Cooterville. It never did. Eventually, you ride the roller coaster long enough until you either get sick or become numb to the constant ups and downs. People always ask me, why do people stay in situations that hurt so much? Why do people stay in situations that are bad for them, physically, mentally, emotionally? I asked that about others, only to then prolong my own painful mistake. I was on the roller coaster much too long, and I didn't know how to get off. In the book, The Examined Life, by psychologist Stephen Groves, he writes of how difficult it is for people to change and to switch up their path. Why? Dr. Groves tells the story of Marissa Panagrosso, who worked on the 98th floor of the World Trade Center's South Tower. When the first plane hit the North Tower, she felt the hot air, the confusion, and the fear. She quickly got up and walked out the emergency exit while watching two of her coworkers remain in their cubicles, trying to make sense of everything that was happening. Marissa is alive today. Those coworkers are not. I'm not reading this guy's quote. Oh my God, look at this. Are you kidding me? Lauren's fucking feet. Lauren, why do your feet look like a guy's? Why does she have dude feet? Maybe this is Dr. John's feet. Whose is it, John's or Lauren's feet? Put a 1 in chat if it's John's. Put a 2 if it's Lauren's. Hey, Pines. Good to see you, baby. Who's talking about Karen Reed? What am I missing in the chat? Hey, Three Sides. What are you guys talking about, Karen Reed? Cicada says 1. You guys think it's Lauren's feet? Ugh. John wears yoga pants. I think those are skinny jeans, actually. Okay, so most of you think it's Lauren's, but there's a couple of you that said they're John's. Y'all are fucking crazy.
This is fucking crazy, yo.
Both they are 1. Oh my God. Okay. Your task is not to foresee the future, but to enable it. For people who do find a way to finally change, at some point the illusions give way to reality. Usually it's when we personally choose to give up the illusions, shattering our ego, our worldview, and for me, shattering the dreams I so meticulously wrote up as a child. And I was shattered, absolutely shattered. Giving up our dreams is difficult. I never envisioned being divorced, no matter the circumstances. Who does? I mean, are you that out of touch? Does she think that other people who end up divorced actually fucking planned it that way? She's so out of touch. I never envisioned being divorced. She acts like she's the only fucking one to have ever been there. I think we all kind of feel that way. Like, when you plan a wedding and spend a bunch of money and marry someone, you definitely aren't thinking you're going to be divorced. But yet, she's the only one that matters. She's the only one whose feelings are hurt. You know? Oh my God. Grayson's feet. Too funny. No matter the circumstances, I always thought even the most entrenched problems could be solved. Yeah, don't we fucking all? Okay, don't we all? This is nothing profound. This is nothing that no one else has gone through. No one wants to get divorced. No one finds the situation fun. I mean, God. Oh, I was wrong. Some problems can't be solved.
I want to say thank you.
Some illusions must be abandoned before we can move on to what is best for us. Thank you, Dr. Macy, for your super chat. I have 20 friends in common with her, X, and I asked them, did you get any answers? Did you get any answers about this, Dr. Macy? Wow. I've heard other people, too, that kind of have connections with him, and I bet you he will never talk. Hey, Megan. Good to see you. Good to see you, Flo. The marriage lasted 5 months. I think that's what she said in the beginning. Right? 3 sides. No one wants to take care of their ex 25 years after the divorce, but I do. Yeah, I'm sure that wasn't in your cards. Not until I started to let go of my illusions did I begin to heal. I knew my life had been shattered. I knew life as I had known it was gone. I was scared. But in acknowledging I was shattered, I also realized I could survive. I could just move on from the illusions I have steadfastly clung on to and needed to function. Now I could cope with the reality of being single and starting over. Shortly after my divorce was finalized, in searching for empowerment, I found a 2014 TED Talk by Emilia Lati. She talked about summoning strength in adversity. She spoke about turning barriers into frontiers, and that's what I wanted to do. I was ready to summon my newfound strength. I listened to Emilia Lati talk about the Finnish word. Oh, shout out to Finland. Hello, Cole. Shout out to the Finnish word sisu. Sisu meant taking action against all odds. Sisu became my battle cry. Sisu was my new ability to look forward without the fear of change and without the fear of the unknown. Sisu encouraged me to take up the reins of my life once again. And here we go. Now we've got her arm. I don't know what it is about this place where they like to take these pictures, but okay, here we go. Between a music playlist I would run consisting of the 1960s classic You Don't Owe Me, Jar of Hearts by Christina Perri, and Fight Song by Rachel Platten, I would repeat that word, Sisu. Sisu, courage in the face of adversity, triumph against all odds. Sisu.
For making it happen. I want to say thank you.
Very Mormon,
Making it happen.
effeminate,
Thank you.
and many don't remember Lauren. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. She sure hasn't forgotten them, Dr. Macy. Thank you. What's up, Teresa? Good to see you, Patrick. And LND, good to see you. Look at all the cooters in here today. Sisu. Sisu sells seashells by the seashore. I started getting stronger. I started believing in an unknown future once again. I started to find hope, Sisu. I now believed I had options. I could continue my life in Boise without feeling guilty, without feeling I might move the next day or the next. I could create a future without the chaos and uncertainty that my ex-husband brought to my life every day. No more Xanax in order to survive. Sisu. I told myself, Sisu, believe in yourself. I could put down roots and I could focus on my career. I might even be open to moving across the country for work. And even my dreams of working for CNN were back in play. I had no one to answer to but myself. Sisu. Determination in the face of adversity. Jammers. Peekaboo. I sisu. I told the station I was ready and willing to fill in on the anchor desk again. And they offered me a raise. I began to anchor once again with more frequency. It was enough. It was just me and my own inner strength. When I walked back to the anchor desk 1 month later without Xanax and delivered the news like I always knew I could, I was back. Sisu, Sisu, Sisu. And there's Lauren. And there's that pesky CNN job again. Hashtag Susan Hendricks. Okay, so I'm not going to read a paragraph by unknown because it's probably by her. I felt freedom. I felt fear. I felt lonely. I felt empowered. I felt ashamed. I felt strong. This was life after the divorce. It was the unknown. I chose to embrace this fresh chapter and stay open to any possibilities that might emerge. I decided to have faith in the unknown and be willing to open any new doors, despite not knowing where they would lead. I started considering applying for job openings across the country, and I had learned that Columbus, Ohio was one market interested in hiring me as their news anchor. I was flattered. I quickly learned that an even larger news market, Milwaukee, was interested in my work. A local station called me one day when I was at my desk in Boise. I think Xanax has been mentioned 7 times, just so you know. I had never applied there, but they knew about me and they asked if I was interested. They were ready to fly me out for an interview. I felt valued knowing they saw my talents. I was also dating. That wasn't easy. I had little trust in men, but I also had little trust in myself. If I had made such a big mistake with my previous dating criteria, why would I trust myself again? If I had never known a healthy relationship, why would that ever change? Hi, Gyps. How would I know what men I should even spend time with? I didn't feel I had any solid direction when it came to romance after my failed marriage. I was a ship without an anchor, tossed about on an angry ocean with no lighthouse in sight. in dating and the love department, I felt utterly lost. But in keeping with my theme of staying open and wanting to continue to heal from my toxic relationship, felt it was important for me to go out on some dates, and I even created an online profile. I responded to many men who wrote and practiced receptive dating, going out with many different men without committing to any of them. The point was to learn more about myself and to evaluate what might work best for me in a serious relationship. I dated without a personal agenda, without expectations, an anchor, but simply to enjoy an evening with someone while listening to how I felt around each man. I was accumulating knowledge and information about who I was and what I was looking for. I needed a reboot after the first dismal marriage. I kept the focus on myself and not upon how they were feeling. For me, the ultimate people pleaser, the woman who had been sucked into a bad relationship by an unrelenting, aggressive man who refused to take no for an answer. This change was difficult. Previously, I had always worried about the man I was with and making sure he was comfortable. But this time around, I had made a different decision. It was about self-love, self-care, healing, hope, learning about myself and listening to my heart. Any person I dated mattered, but not as much as my own feelings, which I had neglected when dating in the past. It was hard to put myself first and listen to my own internal voice and feelings. I needed to learn and trust this new person I wanted to become. And while I believed strongly that going out with many different men was healthy, my wounded self, with no direction, likely went out with some men I shouldn't have. Join the fucking club, sister. I mean, how many of us have been there? Who else has dated the wrong guy? I mean, this is not profound. This is not. There's nothing we're learning from this. She's telling us and stating the obvious.
The line crime.
Jennifer says she said on Mormon Stories that she was dating just to get free meals. What? Hey, Ostrich. Good to see you. And Miss Fancy Pants. While I am a believer, the lack of trust in myself created a loss of some of my previous boundaries when it came to who to date, and I dismissed some red flags. While I am a believer in the openness that receptive dating provides, I also believe in practicing safety. If your gut tells you it feels unsafe to go out with a particular man, trust those feelings. You do not owe everyone who asks a date. You only owe yourself what feels right to you, especially if safety is an issue. I went out with a self-proclaimed alcoholic. A man who admitted he had cheated on his ex-wife more than once, more than twice, and a man who told me he was falling in love with me before we had even met. These were red flags. I still had a good deal to learn. I knew I wanted a good man, a family man, a smart man, a man who made me feel safe, who cherished me, and felt like I was enough. I just didn't know how to find it, or if I ever would. But I wasn't dating to find Mr. Right tomorrow. I was dating with a focus upon myself. Learning about my new self, complete with new wounds, some scars, new insight, new doubt, new wisdom. Part of dating after a divorce means that you have to be willing to reinvent yourself. And reinvention is always hard because it requires leaving behind old habits and patterns. I told one man on the dating website that I believed we were not a match. We're not a match. Keep swiping. And shouldn't go out. He had messaged me several times. And so I wrote him with a respectful message. I was even complimentary of him while choosing to be honest with my feelings and not leave him wondering. Hold on a second. He responded, implied I was too picky, and told me I should stop listening to my emotions and give him a chance. Emotions, he said, were misleading and self centered. He was a good man, he told me. Who cares about emotions? But my feelings and emotions were all I had left. It was all I had to decide whether or not someone felt good enough to go out with again. Listening to reason had led to a failed marriage. I became so tired of men dismissing my feelings. I was so tired of men telling me what I should and shouldn't feel and how I should react. I was triggered by this man's message and wrote him a scathing response and deleted my dating profile for a short period. Don't ever let someone try to convince you that your emotions don't matter. Run away from anyone who dismisses how you feel. While this was a moment of anger, it reassured me. I had learned some new lessons, and I was discovering my boundaries. New boundaries, stronger boundaries. I was fresh from a wounded heart, but I knew setting better boundaries was leading me in the right direction. During my many first dates, I practiced stepping back and listening to how I felt and what my emotions were telling me. Rather than feeling worried about making the date comfortable or pleasing him, I needed to put my decision making and priorities first for a change. Surprisingly, I met many men responded to my new dating self. The less I worried, the more honest I was with my authentic feelings. Oh my God, here we are again. With my authentic feelings, where the fuck am I? The more I found men who wanted to go out with me again, with the added benefit that they felt comfortable sharing their authentic selves more openly with me. I was also working on receiving kindness without feeling guilt. Hold on, I have to refresh this. Oops. Hold on, I gotta get back. There's the feed again. Fucking Lauren's feetsies. Okay. In my marriage, my ex-husband had used kind gestures and gifts as a way to manipulate me. He used guilt in trying to get me to believe I owed him something in return for his fake kindness. It was classic love bombing. I had to relearn and remember that a date was a date, and it didn't mean I owed a man anything if he treated me to dinner. It didn't mean I was a gold digger if I accepted offers of kindness on dates.
Making it happen. I want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
I had to remind myself that genuine kindness and care came with no strings attached. Besides, I offered my time, kindness, and attention in return for whatever any date offered me. What could be more valuable? I was done selling myself short. With all of these new tools in my belt, I continued to receptive date. Thank you so much, Shar Shar. God save the Cooterville. Hell yeah, we need that, and we need some Xanax. Cooterville doctor, can you pass out the Xanax, please? There was a man in Salt Lake City who wrote me, a divorcee with children. We spoke on the phone, and the conversation felt good. Thank you again, Shar Shar. It felt good enough that when he asked if he could drive the 5 hours to Boise to meet me, hold on. For some reason, my keyboard isn't working. Hold on. Jesus. Okay. I told him he could only if he understood that I didn't know how I was feeling about him. I reassured him I was open to the visit as long as he didn't have any expectations or make unreasonable demands. He chuckled a sweet laugh and told me he understood. Before the visit, he sent me flowers at work. I was flattered, but I felt anxious. Since I was working on opening myself up to receiving gifts without guilt, I enjoyed displaying the flowers from my admirer on my desk. When he arrived in Boise, he presented me with a beautiful sapphire necklace. I listened to my feelings and emotions as he handed me this gorgeous piece of jewelry. And I noticed again that I felt anxious. Okay, that's a bit soon. The first date, a sapphire necklace. He responded by encouraging me to enjoy the gift. He told me a beautiful woman deserved a beautiful piece of jewelry with her favorite stone. I accepted the gift. The following day, he purchased me a dress at the mall, continually telling me he was enjoying seeing me spoiled. The idea that someone was willing to spoil me in such a generous manner felt so good. I was exercising this new muscle. Oh God. It's not the Kegel muscle. It's the muscle of receiving gifts and kindness while listening to how I felt. So I accepted his overtures of attention and kindness. But my muscle also started noticing something else. He was not listening. He didn't seem to hear my concerns, and soon I noticed he was actually dismissing my concerns. I continued to share with him my authentic feelings of anxiety and concern. Dude, nobody that meets you, right, wants to hear about your anxieties and concerns right off the bat. Oh, a pearl. She got a pearl necklace. You guys are bad. Bad. I shared that I believed he was more ready for a committed relationship than I was. I shared with him I was feeling pressure. But rather than simply assure me and show me he understood by changing some of his actions, he seemed to not hear what I was saying. My new muscle saw clearly how my feelings were being dismissed. While on the surface he came across as Romeo, I saw clearly the red flags. I had been down this road before with my ex, and I was becoming concerned. Once he had left and went back to Salt Lake City, when he finally started to understand I wasn't ready for a long-term commitment, he demanded I return his gifts. I mailed the sapphire necklace to him, but I told him the dress he had purchased was a gift, that I'd accepted it and I shouldn't have to return it. My strength shocked me. Woo! She told him, I ain't giving back the dress, motherfucker. I'll give you that necklace, but I ain't giving you the dress. Was it blue? Was it the blue dress? What was it? She kept the dress. I was also gaining some self-worth in addition to recognizing red flags. I saw cross boundaries, dismissal of my precious emotions, gift giving as a way to control, and someone who didn't listen. I hardly recognized this woman I was becoming. These actions increased my trust in myself. I found an unused spiral notebook in my apartment. I opened the pages and I wrote his name down. Aaron. Next to his name, I put 2 words. Thank you. I was grateful to this man, Aaron. He taught me to trust myself again and taught me to listen to myself. I started writing each man's name down that I chose to go out with. I wonder how many names she has in her list. I have never heard of such. After the first or second date, when I felt I didn't want to go out with that man again, or if I didn't hear from them again, I wrote their name followed by thank you. What? Okay, Lauren. That sounds normal. These mini first dates became a part of my healing process. I decided that perhaps dating was for this purpose and no other, because I still didn't know whether or not I'd ever meet the man I'd been dreaming of for 30 years. Deep down, I still didn't believe he existed. This is crazy. But I knew that the healing process of dating was restoring my sense of trust and confidence. I was hopeful. Okay, now we're on to the chapter called Shifting Beliefs. And this is page 243 of 296. We are moving right along. This is wonderful. Thank you guys for being here again. And if you could hit the like button, it really does help get this out into YouTube world. Shifting beliefs once in a while really hits people that they don't have to experience life in the way they have been told. To add to my concerns that the man and the relationship I'd always wanted didn't exist, Time magazine posted a cover article that caught my eye in August 2015. I had been divorced for 6 months when the article was published. The title of the article was Mormons and Jews: What Two Religions Tell Us About the Modern Dating Crisis. I read it and I felt sick. I felt angry, discouraged. Hold on. I don't know why my keyboard keeps not working. Give me a second. Oh, thank you, Univ, for gifting 5. Rich Buddy, Just Another Human, Marmalady,
Just help a brother
Gizmo.
out.
Where's the 5th one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to Cooterville. Thank you so much for the 5
Just help a
gifted.
brother out here.
That's so generous of you. Thank you so much. I pondered this article for several days, sorting out my feelings on the matter. In summary, the article discussed factual data, explaining that older single Mormon women would likely not find a Mormon man to marry. It described that dating within both these conservative religions, Jews and Mormons, favored the men because men had more options. There were twice as many Mormon women who remained faithful in their religion than there were men once adults and hit their 30s. In short, Mormon and Jewish women were submitting to extremes, such as plastic surgery or dating unworthy suitors, aka settling, just to land a man who shared their faith. The numbers clearly favored the men, and compromise and settling seemed to be the fate for Mormon and Jewish women. I felt oppressed. In my happy Mormon upbringing, I was taught how important it was to marry within the faith. Only then could I be sealed together forever with my spouse and children. Yeah, that's what it sounds like, Sim. Crazy. I was personally taught well-meaning Sunday school teachers that if I was righteous enough, a righteous man would come in my life. I was also taught that those who remained faithful throughout their lifetimes, but who didn't find love, would be rewarded with love in the afterlife. It was a lesson on faith that always seemed sad to me. And this article was telling me, based upon statistics, that 50% of Mormon women over the age of 30 would have to wait until after they were dead to find love. With new eyes, I realized how these teachings were encouraging faithful women like myself to date and marry men not always worthy of us. It lessened our self-worth. It made us settle for mediocrity just to stay within our faith. It kept us from opening ourselves up to receiving love from good men who could cherish and value us despite not being of our faith. I knew this wasn't right. I prayed to God, and I knew my Heavenly Mother didn't want her daughters to have to wait until the afterlife. What is more beautiful than love? Who's her Heavenly Mother, by the way? Who is that? Hold on, I've got to go click my air on. I have this damn smart thermostat, and it keeps going up to 80 degrees. I'll be right back. Okay. Does anybody have one of these smart thermostats? Because I put it on 71. It's supposed to be like learning. I don't know what it's learning, but it's not learning very fast. And I'll put it on 71 for the air, and then it goes up to 81. And then I have to turn it back down. Heavenly Mother, maybe Ruth Ann. Oh, Aunt Ruth Ann. That could be. Who knows? Is it Mary? Maybe Mary's the Heavenly Mother. I don't know. I've never heard of a Heavenly Mother. I've heard of Heavenly Father, but not Heavenly Mother. Hi, Kresha. Who dat? Like, who the Heavenly Mother? She's setting the stage. Yep. Let's get some John heads in the chat because we're setting the stage to meet John. It's happening. It's going to happen. What is more Christian than love? What is more beautiful than love? Christ's primary message was teaching the importance of love. As a Mormon, I was taught to love above all else. They do, Fancy Pants? Oh, it's like the Holy Spirit. Well, I'm Catholic, Dee Dee. So I'm thinking of, Mother Mary, Catholics are big on Mary and Joseph and all of that. Mother of God is the Heavenly Mother in the Mormon faith. Weird. So they believe God has a mother? That's interesting. As a Mormon, I was taught to love above all else. Mormons teach that the family unit is godly, and nothing is more important. I deserved love, didn't I? I tried the traditional Mormon marriage, but it didn't work. It was not based upon love and respect. Did God want me to wait until I was dead to feel unconditional love from a good man? Oh, really, TS? God has a spouse? Mormon beliefs are very different than most Christian denominations. I see that. Huh. I don't know much about the Mormon religion, so it was not did God want me to wait till I was dead? No. I felt strongly the answer was no. I thought of all the incredible women I knew in their 30s, still single. and felt strongly that God would want each of us to feel valued and cared for in this life. After sorting out my thoughts, I came to some hopeful conclusions and spoke my truth in a Facebook post. Let's zoom in. This is August 25th, 2015. Believe it or not, the rise in Mormon breast implants and 100,000 Jewish dowries can explain why you're alone on a Friday night. What's a Jewish dowry? What is that? Ha! That's all I needed to hear. To admit the author had done his research. To summarize parts of the article, the Mormon dating scene is comparable with The Bachelor. In past decades, women trying to snag the last remaining good guy would work on her cooking skills or smile more. I'm reading your guys' chats. It's interesting. In the past day, okay. Today, work is often done by a doctor. It hurts that there is a culture within the faith I love where so many feel they're not enough. We've been complaining about the picky men for years. It's not new. There will always be men and women who measure worth by appearance. So let's try something new. Be unapologetically you. Try spending your Friday night happily alone before spending it with anyone who is wishing you were a 9 instead of an 8.5. There are good men out there, wonderful men. I give men more credit. I think we'll learn about these good men and discover who they are once we love ourselves completely and fully. Once we stop believing we might not be enough. Let's allow the good men to give us more attention, no matter their religion. Jewish men are sexy. Baptists can drink. And Catholics could be right. What do you think of that, Kresha? Bloomflower Bar, thank you for being a member for a month. As a Mormon for 35 years, they believe in a heavenly mother, but it's not talked about. Mormon religion is focused on the men. So she's there, but not talked about. Heaven forbid a woman has any power. Interesting. Thank you for explaining that. And your dog is adorable, by the way. And so are you. The daughter's parents pay people to take their daughters? That's weird. Steph says, I was raised Mormon and never once heard about the Heavenly Mother. She does, NH girl. Her mind works way too hard. Believe it or not, oh, this is the same thing. Okay. Let's zoom back out. 5 days later, 6 months post-divorce, hanging out with my friend, watching the MTV Music Awards, my phone rang. I answered. My Aunt Kathy was calling, so I walked outside. Like, why do we need to know she walked outside? All of these unneeded fucking details. She told me there was a man my cousin had wanted me to meet. My cousin's boss. She asked me if I was dating again and open to a blind setup. My aunt had never tried to set me up, and I was uncertain if she would know what I was looking for, but I said yes. Of course you did. There was no harm in saying yes. I was learning. Only lessons to be learned. Dating as healing. I have never heard anyone using dating as a healing tactic. Jeez, oh Pete's. My aunt explained that her daughter, my cousin, had seen a Facebook post of mine, and she believed her coworker and I might get along well. Now, who does that? Oh, I saw someone's Facebook post and I think my coworker might get along with you. That's weird. I don't buy it. Right, JR? She have Make it make sense. My aunt relayed all my cousin had shared, that he was such a good man and that he was kind and humble. He was the best of the best. She told me that he was a psychologist and that he was smart. Then she sighed. He has already seen your photo, Lauren, but he wants you to know two things, she said. He isn't Mormon, she said. That was number one. Okay, I said. He wants to know if it would be okay if he isn't Mormon. Yes, that was fine, I confidently told my very Mormon aunt. And would it matter if he was older? She asked. That was the second thing. Again, I had no expectations and no agenda beyond listening to my feelings. My criteria was broad. No, it did not matter that he was older, I told her. I was trying to open myself up to every possibility. My aunt told me she would tell my cousin. A few days later, I received a text message from an unfamiliar number introducing himself as John. He asked if I'd be free to talk sometime. He was direct. There was no long, drawn-out texting conversation that went nowhere. I appreciated this approach so much. It felt good, and we set a date to talk. Boundaries crossed. I don't know why I ever let you in, but I know I will be fighting like hell to get you back out. After the divorce, there was limited contact with my ex-husband. God, now we're back on him. Shoot me already. Just shoot me.
These nuts.
There was limited contact with my ex-husband. There were logistics we couldn't avoid. We shared a storage unit that needed to be cleared out. Taxes that needed to be filed. Photos and documents on our computers that needed to be emailed or put into a Dropbox. While no contact is the ideal way to end any toxic relationship, it is not always possible. Our limited correspondence actually felt good to me. It seemed like the closure I had been seeking when I attempted to drive to Salt Lake City from Boise just before our divorce finalized, and he said he wouldn't allow it. Sorry. Now he appeared to be showing warmth, kindness, and respect through this final chapter. It was the man who I had fallen for. My ex-husband even offered to help pack up the rest of my belongings from a mutual storage unit we had shared, which he did when I drove down a few weeks after the divorce. After packing up my car and handing the storage keys to the main office, we hugged and told each other good luck. I told him I wanted the best for him. I genuinely meant it. My dog sounds like a rooster. Steph, she does that because, like, I tell her, don't bark, just talk. And when she just talks, she goes, "Arr." Were you just talking? She tries not to be too loud. I genuinely meant it. I drove off, and it was a weight lifted off my shoulders. This was it. We were done. There would be no more communication. And we left on the most respectful and loving of terms. I thought I had achieved the closure we missed after the divorce. I was about to learn the hardest lesson when it comes to emotional abuse. There is no such thing as closure. In fact, closure is oft cited word toxic people use to manipulate their empathetic, kind victims into seeing them one last time. Closure is a word my ex-husband had used frequently before I had ever committed to him. We need to meet one last time so we have closure. He would always tell me. There were so many one last times with him. Oh my God, they were her last. She did that. She would do that. Oh yeah, I'll be with you again. Oh, I want a divorce. Oh no, I'll be with you again. No, I want a divorce. Me either, Lord Peter. And thank you, Tanya. I was about to learn the hardest lesson when it comes to emotional abuse. There is no such thing as closure. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. Our story began when the two of us met at a mutual friend's house on Saturday night. Oh my God, now we're going to the beginning of how she met him. Thank you, Dr. Macy, for explaining that further. Why are we going back to when she met the ex? I don't know how much more I can handle. Our story began when the two of us met at a mutual friend's house on a Saturday night 3 years before we were married. I was working my first job as a reporter in a lonely town while he attended graduate school 3 hours away. But he still took the time to ask me out and would drive up to Idaho to see me. Is this the ex-husband? Who are we talking about? I need to know. I'm confused. I don't know if she's talking about someone new. Aw, Blue, that's cute. Maybe this is a different guy? Or no? We met at a mutual friend's house 3 years before we married. I was working as my first job as a reporter. Okay. While flattered, I realized I was not interested in him after those first few dates. Something did not feel right with him. I had said yes to those initial dates because I wanted love. I had heard he was a wonderful man from numerous people, and his resume appeared to be impressive. But something still felt off to me, and I couldn't shake it. One night, he asked to come see me after his classes finished. I opened myself up and told him the truth in that moment that I wasn't interested in him. Couldn't put my finger on it. But I didn't have feelings for him, and I was very clear. He simply was not a good fit, and my gut told me so. I told him I would never have feelings for him. I hoped that would end it. But after I shared this emotional truth, he begged to come up to see me for closure. He explained I understood the need for closure. I felt compassion towards him, so I let him visit. That evening, he wore his mask to perfection. The love bombing was unending, and the closure I sought never arrived. 5 years later, with a marriage and a divorce between us, he was still using this idea of closure to meet his needs and manipulate me, and I was still falling for it as his ex-wife. Who doesn't hope for closure in a messy relationship? Who doesn't want to tie up all the loose ends in a tidy package that can be stored away in a dusty closet and left behind? That's what I'm thinking, CNN. Did they get back together and do a little something, something? Little brown chicken, brown cow? After we cleaned out our joint storage unit, I thought she just told us that they hugged and said goodbye. And it was amicable. So now here we are, back to the fucking storage unit. And now she's telling a different story about it. After we cleaned out our storage unit, it was only a few weeks later that I heard from him again. Okay. I recognized the number and I chose to answer it. Happy day of marriage, he said. I had not even realized the date was our anniversary until he told me. Looking back, I believe my failure to remember our marriage date was symbolic of how I'd already moved on in healing. until I answered that call. He told me he'd missed me in his life and wanted to talk. While I was kind and ached for love, I stayed strong and I told him I didn't want to talk anymore. He pushed and persisted and argued that a conversation now and then should be good. I told him the truth, my truth. We needed to move on. I needed to heal. I wanted to find love. He dismissed my request to be left alone so I could move on, and he repeated that he missed me. I asked him directly, "What do you want from this? Are you saying you want to get back together with me?" I asked. "No," he said. "I'm too angry at what you did to want to date you," he said. "Then why are you calling? It's not good for us to talk," I said again and again. "I don't want to talk any longer to you," I said. It had only been a couple of months since our divorce. Had I already forgotten there was no reasoning with him? Did I think a divorce would suddenly lead to a rational, reasoning person? And how about happy day of marriage? What could be more obtuse and manipulative than opening a conversation with that phrase? We were no longer married, and that day had been relegated to the trash heap of all my other failed relationships. Why was it happy? What did he want? What do you want from me? Oh my God. He persisted, as he always did. No was not a word in his vocabulary. He would continue to harass me until I relented. Just like in our marriage, I realized I would never get off the phone with him if I didn't submit to his request. "Yes, okay. We can talk sometimes," I told him. He finally hung up, and I felt exacerbated, but relieved. I wanted the call to end. The following months after that call consisted of manipulation, boundary crossings, and constant refusals to listen to my requests and wishes. He would never go completely away. He always showed up when I wanted him to disappear. If I gave him a bit of narcissistic supply, if I answered his calls and submitted to some of his requests, I learned it would temporarily appease him, and he would actually disappear for a few weeks. If I was stern and strong in telling him to leave me alone, and I set solid boundaries, his harassment would only increase. And like a zombie arising from the dead, he kept on coming back for more. Even as I made it clear, our relationship had been left for dead. By letting him into my life, even in the small amounts, he kept provoking all of the old wounds and feelings I had relating to the failed marriage and my dashed hopes for love. In the months following my divorce, I was dancing a fragile dance while trying to date, heal, and move on. His ceaseless desire for contact was like picking at the scabs of a broken heart over and over, never allowing it to heal. And I began to doubt if it ever could. Hello, dripping trash bag. Good to see you. I was continued, this is how it's written. I was continued to talk to the Milwaukee news station. So we're back. We're back to Milwaukee. It's been a minute since we heard about Milwaukee. Okay? But we're back to the Milwaukee job offer. They had wanted to fly me out, and I was ready to take the job if it seemed right, with my ex-husband hanging on the failed marriage. She expects her readers to believe her ex was hanging on that marriage. My goodness. I thought that moving far away could only benefit me. Hey, Groovy. Taking a job in Salt Lake City, a place I had once wanted to work, stopped seeming like the best option with a relentless ex waiting in the wings. I had to get away. I didn't know what else to do. Writing this now, years later, with new eyes and understanding, I now know what I should have done. I should have been brave and requested a restraining order. He would never take no for an answer or show the slightest amount of respect in honoring my requests for distance and space. Come on, a restraining order because he was calling, allegedly? Back then, I felt ashamed to do such a thing. Oh, well, you don't now, do you? Ain't no shame in Walwyn's game these days. No siree, Bob.
On Prime Crime.
He wasn't threatening violence. He didn't own a gun. As a TV reporter, I understood restraining orders as something that were done only in physically abusive situations. Oh, she learned to abuse this process, I guess, in her life. I felt I was overreacting to consider such a thing. And in a moment of strength, when one day I did threaten a restraining order in an email to him, I later felt ashamed for not being able to end things on a better note. Oh my God. Pines, thank you for your super chat. She says, a day in this woman's life must be like dog years. For real. Holy fark. I think this is only like 2 years, if that, of her life. Jeez, oh Pete. So she threatened him with a restraining order in a fucking email. Hey, YBE. An email, guys. I'm going to get a restraining order on you in an email. I wonder if she used Proton back then. I still had some feelings for him. A mix between sharing part of my life with him, wishing things could have been different, and feeling sorry for him. Feeling sorry for him was my biggest weakness. It felt too emotional to move forward with a restraining order. It would be the opposite of closure and not leaving on good terms. I didn't want to hurt him, and he understood that fact. He often used it against me. Even as he had no problems hurting and shaming me. I considered myself to be a strong woman, and getting law enforcement involved would show I wasn't strong.
Bing bang.
And that I couldn't handle the situation on my own. This was a subconscious thought, but one I did not want to fully acknowledge. I also partly blamed myself for not being in contact with him, despite the fact that he repeatedly refused to listen to requests to leave me alone. I know now. When someone continually refuses to stop contacting you when you want to be left alone, that is someone who isn't respecting your boundaries. That is someone who is acting from their own desperation, their own need to heal their deep wounds and to resolve some of their own unfinished business. It had nothing to do with me, but with him. If he truly cared about my best interests, he would have let me go and move on. Our marriage had failed, and he refused to accept it. His ego was wounded. He wanted to extract revenge and even the score. I was merely a pawn on his manipulative chessboard. Looking back now, I believe I mainly had hoped for a different outcome to my first marriage. I struggled to accept how poorly it had ended and how bad the marriage was. So she was 35 at this time, 35 years old. I did want some kind of closure, and he knew it. Didn't she just tell us that closure is not good? I had wanted to move forward in my life on good terms, without threats, without anger, and love in our hearts from what we shared together. Like most people who marry someone, I had wanted the marriage to mean something, to not have been wasted time. I wanted this so badly. Empathetic people struggle with ending major life events in a negative manner. I know this was my struggle. We want to know that two people in a relationship can move on without bitterness and resentment. Really? You're talking about getting an RO on the guy, and then you're talking about moving on without bitterness or resentment? But you want to put a fucking lifelong tie to him. Okay. We sometimes believe that ending a relationship on a positive note means that human beings are fundamentally good and kind and worthy and can resolve differences in a respectful and adult manner. I wanted to believe this lesson about people, and even about my ex-husband. I wanted to avoid cynicism and despair. You know, I was rewatching, I think it was part 2 where we showed Ruth Ann's texts. I think she staged the texts. I don't think the Ruth Ann texts are real. I think she made a contact on her phone, because I don't think that's Ruth Ann talking. I think that's Lauren talking to Lauren. And that's my opinion, Lauren, and I can have it, and you can't sue me for it. I don't think those are texts from Aunt Ruth Ann. I think they were fabricated. If you go back and read them and really look at the wording, and it just sounds like Lauren talking to Lauren, because I'm catching some of the wording in this book as well that matches that. You thought that too? Yeah, I totally thought that. Snazzy. I don't know, Kimberly. That's a good question, actually. But I really, if you go back and read them, it really does sound like she's talking to herself. But now I understand a different lesson, one forged in the reality of marital conflict and the hopeless naivety of youth, and even Mormon idealism. Some relationships will never end well. Some relationships end with a burning ship in the distance, while you swim with the last of your energy back to the shore to save your own life. I was trapped in a marriage. This chapter is almost over. I was trapped in a marriage with toxic manipulation, deception, confusion, emotional abuse, and despair. I hoped against hope my reality would change, that I was wrong, and that everything I experienced was an illusion. It was not. It was real. Some people in situations are toxic, and they will always be so. Don't keep hoping and praying for a closure that will never come, and that shouldn't come. You crawled your way onto the shore to save your life. Don't turn back to what almost killed you because you think you'd be better off with an apology you never gave or received. The ship is burning, and you're safe on solid ground. Run and never look back. The pain and reality of life is that closure is fiction used by abusers and to manipulate you to meet their needs. Say no. get that restraining order, set firm boundaries, and move on. And this chapter ends with a quote from Lauren. Closure is for suckers and fools if you're trapped in a toxic relationship. Jesus Christ. If you guys haven't hit the like, if you could hit the like for me, let's get those likes up. All right, let's move on to the next chapter. Zero responsibility. Thank you, Flobo, for the $20 super sticker. Thank you so much. All righty, here we go. Let's see what this one's going to be. Discovering hope. Okay. Maybe she won't be so whiny in this one. The phone rang Sunday evening, September 6th, 2015. See, and she's bouncing all around. Now we're back in September. We were in December of 2015. I had hope, but now we're back. Fuck. I was at my friend Sarah's in Boise, and I told her I had to get a call quickly. It was someone my cousin wanted me to meet. I went into her guest bedroom to pick up the call and talk to John. We talked for 2 hours. I listened to my feelings as I shared. Listen, it says, I listened to my feelings. Tell me you're a narcissist without telling me you're a narcissist. I think that was supposed to read, he listened to my feelings as I shared about my recent divorce. But she wrote, I listened to my feelings as I shared about my recent divorce. He validated my feelings and responded in a way that carried the conversation so effortlessly. I listened to him share about his past relationships, his profession, his hopes. He seemed so honest and thoughtful, but mostly, I noticed how he listened and asked questions. It felt so good. My body felt relaxed, and it felt like I was talking to an old friend. He was warm and interesting. I noticed he was insightful. I had no agenda or expectations as I spoke to him. I leaned back and listened to how I was feeling and enjoyed the moment. It was a wonderful conversation where I felt heard and understood. I felt calm throughout the whole conversation. And when he asked if I'd like to talk again later, I shared that talking to him felt good. And I would be open to that. Hey, Sarah. I never once experienced such a conversation in my first marriage. I took that to be a good sign. Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, CNN. I'd be interested in your story, though. I think it happens more than we know. After hanging up, I apologized to my friend in the other room that the call was longer than intended, but also excitedly told her about it. Then I texted my cousin. So, John just called. I wanted to say thank you, smiley face. Whether anything progresses or not, it was a very refreshing conversation, and it gave me a lot of hope again. He's a good guy. Thanks for thinking of me, smiley face. What I said to my cousin, I meant. I had no expectations for anything progressing. I had no desire to control any outcome, but I felt excited when John called the next night and the next and every night after. When a reporter and a psychologist talk, the conversations can be broad. We talk about everything from murderers to sex offenders. God damn.
What?
From Freud to reality stars. Religion and politics were fair game, as were feelings and emotions. He told me as I shared my emotions freely that it meant a lot to him. He said he'd never experienced that before in a relationship. He called me emotionally intelligent. I felt valued and understood. I'd get off work at 11 p.m. and we'd talk till 2 a.m., sometimes even 4 a.m. I learned he'd played football in college, and I nicknamed him my football playing, philosophizing feminist. Oh my God.
God almighty.
She did, Crusha. Then one night I shared with him that I was on my way to Milwaukee for that job interview. It was across the country from where he lived. While the two of us were 8 driving hours apart and had never met in person, Milwaukee was another world away. Milwaukee was 1,500 miles from him. And while I was falling for John during our phone calls, I stayed true to having no agenda. I was stepping back with that focus on receiving. And receiving also meant staying open to Milwaukee's offer. I had no intentions of creating future plans with John or stalling my life for him. I was taking care of me and only me. My feelings continued to feel good and warm each time John and I spoke, unlike any other man I'd ever met. And he gave me hope, unlike anything I'd felt in years. Still, I had no expectations. I had one person to care for, and that was me. I had been through too much to sacrifice my life for a man. I learned that lesson the first time around. As I shared with John my decision to fly out for the interview, he shared he wished the timing had been different, but he understood and respected my decision. That meant a lot to me. And I recognized how good that made me feel. He would never pressure me. He wanted the best for me. The following day, he told me he'd like to drive the 8 hours to Boise to come meet me if I was open to a visit. I told him I'd love for him to come. I told him I couldn't wait to meet him in person, although I also felt nervous. He arrived Friday night at 10 p.m. as I finished a live shot with breaking news. I was extra made up with television makeup, and this made me feel a little insecure. I noticed I felt butterflies before we met, and I was excited. I gave him a hug when I saw him. His eyes felt kind, so warm. I always felt warmth around him, as if he was secure in himself. We went to a late dinner. The restaurant was loud. It was hard to hear, and the conversation didn't flow as easily as while we were on the phone. But I still felt good being with him. We decided to meet up the next day for a hike, and I drove back to my apartment. Laying in bed that night, I again acknowledged all I was feeling: warmth towards John, butterflies, and also some anxiousness. Pass the Xanax! I tried to process that anxiousness and realized I was too nervous to date. I had never had a good relationship where I felt safe and secure all the time. I had only thought of relationships as a place where I lost a bit of myself, where I'd lose control, or where I was shamed for being me. I wanted time to enjoy John without feeling pressure. And I was afraid he wouldn't understand. I was also not ready to be physical with anyone. And while I felt no pressure from John, I had too many men not understand that wish and put pressure on me in the past. The next morning, we met up in hiking gear. I felt shy and didn't speak much. I sensed he was confused. We started the hike only to admit 10 minutes into the trek that it was very hot. Too hot to go on. Back in the car, we drove to the top of the Boise Mountains for a beautiful view and cooler weather. At the peak of Bogus Basin, I still hardly spoke. "Are you doing okay?" John asked. It felt so good he would care and be concerned. And what I did next surprised me. I leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. I realized how much I cared for and liked him. I wanted him to feel reassured, despite my anxiousness and being so reserved. Before we got back into the car to drive down the mountain, it was John who suggested we take a photo. Come on. She was quiet because she wasn't attracted. That's why. That's why she was quiet. Because she was like, no. Oh, shit. There's the infamous photo. We're supposed to believe this was their first date. John said, let's take a photo, honey. I mean, really? You're going to wear earbuds when you're on your first date? I don't believe it. Bogus basin. But for real, why? I don't think this. I don't believe it. I don't believe you, Lauren. I don't believe anything you say or do. I think you're bogus. Calissa, exactly. I don't think she knew what he looked like before she met him. Good grief.
Fuck directly off.
Back at my apartment alone, I started listing red flags. He was older and had never been married. Did he have commitment issues? I asked myself. What is wrong with him? I wondered. He didn't share my religion, and I thought about that too. Wow, it does kind of look like it here. I think this has been photoshopped, and I think that's why it looks funky. But I don't know. I see what you're talking about, though. Right in here. But see, I think because you can see over here this like marking, if you look close, I think it's what she's tried to Photoshop to touch up her face. I mean, his face is definitely touched up. He don't look like that. We've seen him in the raw. You know what I mean? Would we not have enough in common based upon my upbringing in the Mormon church? But I realized these red flags weren't coming from any concerning ways he acted or negative feelings I was experiencing. I reminded myself to be in the moment. What mattered was how he made me feel. And from our many hours of nightly phone calls, he'd only made me feel good. While I was by his side in Boise, even when the conversation slowed, I felt relaxed and cared for. I felt listened to and heard. There continued to be something so different about him than any other man I'd ever met. Before he left the next morning, we met for breakfast, and he calmly and kindly asked me how I was feeling. I shared how I liked him, but that I was feeling anxious and wasn't sure why. I shared that I felt good, but I needed time. He told me he understood and respected my wishes. Calissa, I think so too. He thanked me for being honest. He shared that he would like to see me again if I was open to that. He said he felt really good about us and would love to see me again. He didn't want to rush me, and I understood I needed time and understood I needed time. No one had ever been so open with me about their feelings, and my anxiousness disappeared completely in that moment. I realized I couldn't wait to see him again. My heart started beating faster. John was unlike anyone I had ever met. We walked to John's car together to say goodbye, and he asked if he could give me a kiss. I'd never been asked before. Even with such small gestures, he was so respectful and kind. I said yes, and after a sweet peck on the lips, he got back in his car for his 8-hour drive home, leaving me with a quickening heartbeat, along with feeling understood, safe, and validated after expressing my true feelings. I was optimistic about the future after many years of despair in a dismal relationship. I felt hope. So they only did a peck. Okay. Believing in love again. Here's a picture of Milwaukee. Milwaukee, fall 2015. Rich buddy. He was. Oh, shit. John called when I arrived in Milwaukee and asked if I'd made it there safely. He asked about my interview and listened as I shared with him that they valued me and believed I was a good journalist. He told me he was proud of me. I arrived back in Boise, and Milwaukee quickly offered me the job as their lead night-side reporter. The salary was twice what I was currently making. The next jump would be the Chicago market. I believed it was an amazing job offer and career advancement. When John called that evening, I knew it would be a hard conversation. I told him about the offer, and he listened and asked what I wanted to do. I told him I was going to accept. I couldn't say no. That was my reasoning. The job offer was simply too good for my career, and I was tired of placing my fate in the hands of whimsical men. He told me he was sad and asked why I thought I needed to take it. I shared all about what I'd learned through painful times. I told him that I needed to take care of myself. I couldn't make the mistake again of putting off my career. I shared about what Ruth Ann had taught me about taking care of myself and the past mistakes I'd repeated over and over. From there, the conversation took a turn. Without putting me down or questioning my life decisions or life lessons, he shared that he was falling in love with me. And while he said it may have seemed too early to share that information, he said it again. He was falling in love with me. He said he realized this conversation could be the most important conversation of his life. And he didn't want to hold back what he was feeling and believed. While he couldn't control my decision and even respected what I believed I should do, he told me with confidence that we could have a love unlike anything I'd ever imagined if I chose to move to Las Vegas with him, or if I stayed in Boise just a bit longer to let our relationship develop, rather than move farther away where meeting would be difficult. My heart beat fast as I heard those words. I wanted to believe him, but I was also cynical. I repeated again, convincing myself in the process that I could not say no to such an amazing offer after all I had been through. From the loss I'd suffered with my relationships and marriage, but also my family. And then Ruth Ann. I didn't have enough trust left in me to risk saying no to such a good job that would progress my career and provide security in my life. I had no one to rely on but myself. He listened and understood. But he told me, with my talents and skills, he believed my opportunities were endless. And while he supported my career, he believed I might be selling myself short, thinking Milwaukee offered me the best future. He told me about his dreams to start a business and nonprofit to help sick children. Sick children? He told me he believed what he believed was possible if we dared to dream. It was beautiful. It was all so overwhelming. I felt paralyzed with uncertainty and doubt. Hey, Lindsay. What John did not do was to dismiss my feelings. He listened, he understood, and he respected the choices in front of me. While he hoped he might allow me to see another option, a grander option, he didn't belittle what I had gone through, or how I felt, or what I wanted to do with my life. He didn't tell me I was wrong. He said he understood my decision, I also saw he didn't want what was just best for him. He wanted what was best for me, too. At 2 a.m., about after 5 hours of talking, I told him that I had to go to sleep and hung up. I was exhausted and needed some rest and space to just take it all in. I woke late the next morning and saw texts from John. I responded, but didn't say much. I had made my decision. I didn't need to be at work until that afternoon, but I knew that Milwaukee wanted me to start in just 2 weeks. So I called a moving company and asked them how much it would cost. They stopped by my apartment and gave me an estimate. I ordered some nail decals online, the Green Bay Packers, and decided to announce my move with a fresh manicure. Are you fucking kidding me? She got Green Bay Packer nail decals and felt the need to put this in her book. I decided to announce my move with a fresh manicure. I called Milwaukee and accepted the offer. They sent me apartment ideas via email, and I made some calls. I was preparing for my new life in the Midwest. And it was only then that I called and told John I wanted to be clear about my decision before telling him. He was surprised. Not that I had accepted, but that I'd made the decision so quickly. In less than 12 hours since we had spoken. He shared he was sad, but told me he understood. I drove to work early to meet with my boss, Grindle. I told her I needed to give my 2 weeks, and she said she was very happy for me. We cried, and we also talked about John. She told me she knew he was something special. She told me to follow my heart, but recognized the importance of the Milwaukee job, too. The decision was made, but my heart was heavy and conflicted. I was still torn. John and I spoke that night, as we'd done every night since our first call in September of 2015. Holy fuck. How long did they even talk for? A month? I shared my hopes of dating while I lived in Milwaukee. He was open to the idea, but he believed the distance would make connecting very difficult. He said he was willing to try. We had now been speaking for a few weeks. A few weeks?
What?
This is wild. Lauren, you are fucking wild. We had now been speaking for a few weeks, and we talked each night, falling for each other over hours of phone conversations. We had also confided in each other so much about our dating woes. He had also tried online dating, just like me. He had some miserable stories to share. I had been wondering for a while now, would John's online profile have caught my eye? Would it have been different than the others? Would I have contacted him online? That night, with a heavy heart, full of confusion about the major decision I just made, I asked if he was still on a certain site. Perhaps I was doubting his willingness to date long distance. Hey, Hossein. Or if he was losing interest in me. No, he said. His profile still existed, but he had hidden it for the moment because he did not want to be noticed. He said he was becoming exasperated by online dating and was taking a break. I asked, could you unlock it for me? Just so I can read your profile? He said yes. It took him a few minutes to release his profile, and it was another call lasting well past midnight, but I waited patiently. Okay, I think it worked, he said. Let me know as soon as you're done reading, because I want to take it down from the site again. The profile, starting with his childhood fascination with Batman, was unlike any dating profile I'd ever read, and everything I'd dreamed of finding. I took a screenshot of the profile and told him I enjoyed reading it, which was an impressive understatement, as I didn't mention my eyes were filled with tears. What's new? And Lindsay, yes, we speculated she wrote that stolen identity article when she met John in case he found her dating profiles. Yes. Yes. So funny.
Bing bang.
The profile made me start believing in love and goodness again. So much so that when I woke the next morning, I told John I believed I was making a mistake. I told him I realized I believed in him when he said we'd have a love like unlike anything I could imagine. And that I was going to ask Grendel for my job back. I didn't want to move 1,500 miles away from him or prolong being with him. I was falling for him too, and I wanted to prove it. I changed my mind and backed out of the Milwaukee job. Lauren Matthias, dating profile. When I was a child, around age 7, I developed a fascination with Batman. I donned a black cape, sorry, no tights, and set about helping the animals in the neighborhood. While I wasn't fighting sociopaths in Gotham City, I figured the next best option was to assist animals in need. You could find me climbing and jumping from trees with furry creatures in hand, or searching the nearby creek for frogs, turtles that needed help to survive. One day I learned that an injured cat had taken refuge on the roof. I threw on my black cape and climbed onto the roof. I found the cat and safely assisted her to the ground. When I jumped, I shattered my arm and my would-be career as a superhero along with it. Nowadays, you won't find me climbing and jumping from trees to save cats, but you will find me rappelling into canyons. No cape or tights, but a wetsuit is close. And helping others in my work. I learned a few valuable lessons from my Batman saga. Challenge yourself for constant growth and seek to do good by helping others. I found the Batman story compelling when growing up because I could relate to a childhood shaped by trauma. I'll spare you the details, but I'll be happy to share my story when we meet for coffee. I'm no superhero, but I have cultivated a few superpowers over the years that include curiosity, compassion, and tenacity. I have also learned that our greatest adventures often begin in our inner worlds, which ironically can become our worst enemies through the creation of fear. Here are some of my current adventures. Reading, lots of reading. Cultivating new ideas is always a great adventure. One of my neighbors recently joked. He believed I drove a UPS truck because the UPS truck is so frequently parked in front of my home for Amazon deliveries. I volunteer on several local boards for organizations that support children's causes. I will be at the gym or hiking several times each week. You'll also find me spending time with my friends and family. I meet with my father for breakfast every Tuesday before work, and I'm sure that we've solved most of the world's problems by now. I like to laugh and play a lot, I mean a lot. My friends have described my sense of humor as a blend between the wit and sarcasm of Jon Stewart and Ricky Gervais. Life is short. Why take it too seriously? As for you, you will be my partner, my Batwoman to my Batman. You will have cultivated a few superpowers over the years, including grit, compassion, and self-awareness. You live your life with purpose, and you have a vision for the future. You are independent, smart, witty, passionate about what matters to you most. You can challenge me, make my life better, as I will for you. You are playful, open, fun, and curious. I don't expect you to fly, but it would be nice if you never stopped trying. Fighting crime, it's a bonus. I think we all want to make a difference in this world. I hope that you do. As for us, let's create a sacred partnership, one based in a deep and abiding friendship, and love that equals, between equals, that brings us sanctuary, sizzle, and soul growth. What could be better than such a deep connection? I'll leave you with a secret. Please don't tell anyone. Sometimes, on a rainy night in the desert, where the darkness stretches endlessly into the vast unknown, and the faint and sweet scent of sagebrush permeates the air, I'll slip on my Batman t-shirt before climbing into bed, lonely and tired. The t-shirt reminds me to live with a single-minded devotion to my life's purpose around making a difference, just like the caped crusader. I reach across the bed for you, but no one is there. The room is empty. The silence piercing. I call out your name, but no one answers. Where are you? Think about how different life might be if I reached out for your hand and you clasped my hand in return. The two of us, united as one, facing the world to make a real difference. Now that would be heroic. I realized that my confusion and doubt stemmed from a place that wasn't about John, but rather about my life experiences and decisions. When it came to John, there was no confusion or doubt. Everything was easy. He was already becoming my best friend, and I valued our relationship that was forming quickly more than anything else. I realized I had been pushing away the very thing I should be embracing because I was afraid. I wanted to challenge my fears and try to love again. Even though I had been through a great deal, I believed I was ready for the possibility of true love in my life. Batman Facing Triggers is the next chapter. We are on page 271 of 296. And look at, there's 1,700 of you in here. Can you guys hit the thumbs up, please? John brings all the cooters to the yard. It's that fucking story. It brought them all in. Damn right. It's better than yours. John's milkshake brings all the coots to the yard. Damn right. Facing Triggers. Okay, here's another photo. January of 20. Okay, we're in 2016. Hallelujah. We got out of 2015, you guys. Holy fuck. I feel like I've been a time warp for the last 2 years. Christ. That was his profile. Hello, Kylie. Visiting John in southern Utah, January 2016. Thank you, Belinda Buckner. No, that was his dating profile, y'all. I wish I could say this moment was our happily ever after, but choosing and dating John was not without conflict or tumult. It was his patience and love that eventually saw us through. During our first conversation, John had asked me if I was ready to date again. He was concerned that maybe I needed more time to heal. I had confidently told him, however, I was ready to date and fall in love again. I didn't fully realize that my inner wounds from past hurts ran so deep and wide across my heart. But all that past pain would eventually come roaring back the minute I changed my mind. Almost instantly, I started to resent John after making the decision to refuse the Milwaukee job. Oh my God, she's insufferable. You can't do anything right with her. The reaction in Milwaukee, by the way, was understandably skeptical and angry. The news director chastised me and told me I was making a bad decision and it would cost me. She told me on the phone I could go anywhere after reporting 3 years in Milwaukee. I experienced guilt and regret. What if they were right? Did I make the wrong decision? Had I once sacrificed again my career for a man I hardly knew? I experienced the immediate loss of control and a loss of the newfound freedom I had just embraced by agreeing to a life-changing job. John thought we would be committed and exclusive now, embracing our future as a couple, but I was not ready. Oh my God. I blamed him for the decision I had made, for my lingering regret and inner turmoil. I didn't want him to have so much power. I was quickly having a change of heart because of my past hurts. John drove the 8 hours to see me again. After a romantic evening, he asked to kiss me. Well, he didn't actually ask. I'm going to throw up. He playfully said the words, "Kiss me." I startled him by responding in an accusatory tone. I don't have to do anything you tell me to. I don't want to kiss you. John quickly realized his romantic gesture had backfired. I now realized he was simply being playful, but that was not how I took it. I took his gesture as an unwarranted demand, or even a command. That was a vestige from my first failed marriage. My ex would make the same request, but it was never playful. It was always a command. I resented it in the past, and now I was repeating the pattern. I think John was a bit baffled by my behavior. Wouldn't you be? I don't even understand what's going on here. Like, what the fuck? She's all over the place with everything, with the first marriage, now with John. Like, what is going on here? I think John was a bit baffled. Later that evening, as he drove home, he asked if I would like to talk to him while he drove hundreds of miles back home. He said he was tired and would appreciate the company. To help him stay awake, I'm ashamed to say that I told him his expectations were high and I didn't have time to talk. He drove back home. Wow, she's harsh, man. He drove back home alone without conversation or companionship. He later told me it was a difficult trip to make at night without company. He had struggled to stay awake. I regret it now, but at the time, I did not want to acquiesce. I did not want him to take over my life. Dude, she's going a little too deep with this. I was beginning to become angry. I wouldn't be lying if I said I couldn't wait till this fucking book is done. All of these reactions stemmed from my past unhealthy relationships and the expectation that my relationship with John would be similar. My wounds had not healed, and I did not want to be told what to do, nor to convey the message that I wasn't enough, both major tenets of my failed marriage. I was tired of never being enough or never meeting the unrealistic expectations of a narcissist. I also didn't think I deserved John. I told him that on several occasions. He told me I was mistaken. We deserved each other. My self-worth and my decisions. My self-worth was lowering after coming out of a bad relationship. I questioned myself and my decisions more than usual, and I was worried about making bad choices when it came to romance. God. To handle these conflicted emotions, I subconsciously believed that John couldn't be all I ever wanted. Because if he was so wonderful, he probably would not love me. I was so flawed. So obviously, only a flawed man could really love me. John saw through it. He knew I was more than my triggers and wounds. He knew that beneath the angry facade was a beautiful soul waiting to blossom. Shar, thank you for the super chat. What percentage of this book is true? I don't know, maybe 25%. YBE, she did. She said it was a cousin. I wish we could hear you, Tanya. Thank you again, Shar, for the super chat. I appreciate that. But the drama was only getting started. Of course it was, with Walwyn. Not only did I push John aside, but he also learned that my ex-husband lingered in the distance. I couldn't keep it a secret forever, though, although I was afraid to tell him. Originally, I appeased my ex, not daring to tell the ex about John, because I knew if I asked the ex to leave me alone because I was falling in love with someone else, he would escalate his behaviors and never leave me alone until he got his way. He persisted when we dated after I told him to leave me alone numerous times, and he kept coming back with a vengeance, especially after we had broken up and he knew I was dating other men. He simply couldn't handle the possibility that I might not put him first, even when we were not together. Rejection of any sort wounded him to the core. I think she's explaining herself. He always kept hanging around, keeping in contact with me. Hi, Diana. Keeping in contact with me even when I didn't want it. I believed this was the best way to manage his neediness and persistence. I was exhausted by his intrusions and not being left alone. Boundaries were crossed all the time, and I was at a loss at how to handle this situation. Oh my God, I felt a loss of control. Friends would tell me to block him on my phone. And while this answer seemed simple, I knew if I did such a thing, he would drive to Boise and show up on my doorstep, refusing to leave me alone or take no for an answer. He never listened to me. He just did whatever he needed to do to quell his own anxieties and fears of rejection. I now know it was never about me. John's reaction was similar to my friend's. Just block him, he said. How bad could it be? He also questioned if I still loved him or if I'd go back to the ex. No, I explained. The ex and I weren't dating. We weren't seeing each other. He simply wouldn't leave me alone. While John was understanding, he was concerned, and he seemed concerned about the situation. I knew I needed to figure out a way to end contact once and for all if I ever desired to give my relationship with John a fair chance. I was divorced for many months and was never going back to my ex, so what was the problem? Why did I struggle to tell him off for good? When I finally told my ex about John, with the request he leave me alone, all my fears were confirmed. He immediately drove to Boise to visit me. He wouldn't take no for an answer. I slept other places, not at my apartment, so he couldn't locate me while he was in town, as I refused to see him. He was relentless. He texted me hundreds of times within each passing hour. I began sending some of his texts to a close friend, and she replied, "Holy crazy person, did he forget you're divorced?" His desperation was palpable when I finally gave in to his repeated request to see me one last time for closure. He finally left town, believing that he once was in control of our relationship and that I couldn't live without him. Apparently, he had conveniently forgotten we were divorced and had been for many months. He had forgotten that we had no ties that bound us. He also seemed to have forgotten how incredibly angry he had been with me just a few months before the divorce. We had gone through this same charade several weeks before I filed the divorce papers. I threatened to leave, and he now could not live without me, even though he was cruel and indifferent during our marriage. All narcissists seem to have the most selective memories. He just couldn't and wouldn't let go or accept that our marriage had failed. He clung to a crazy fantasy about the beauty of our failed marriage and future together, even though the marriage we did have was miserable and loveless. I needed to find a way out of this crazy trap with my ex. I appeased him, and he left, as it usually occurred. Right, Ancient Teapot? After this confrontation with my ex, my health deteriorated, and I almost lost John. I started getting migraines daily, and my digestive health was a mess. Oh my God. She was having headaches, and she had the shits. We've all had the shits and had headaches. Woman. John and I continued our whirlwind romance, and never has anything felt so right and good in my entire life. He came to see me, or I would fly out to see him. I met his family. 2 months into our dating, he brought up marriage and hinted at a holiday engagement. All this while my ex lurked in the background, like a leopard ready to strike. I was honest with John. I told John about every contact I had with the ex, and John was hurting terribly. He was struggling with my struggles and indecision. Not that I intended to go back to my ex, far from it. The problem was that my ex continued to roil up the pot, to play on my guilt over the failed marriage. It was master manipulation, and he knew it. It had worked in the past, and he sensed it was working now. All of my simmering feelings soon boiled over into my experiencing a sense of lost control, guilt, and shame. I started distancing myself from John. John didn't deserve this, and I felt like I didn't deserve John. I felt trapped in a brewing storm between the past and the future. But it was a fictitious storm created by my ex to attempt to keep me shackled to his destructive and manipulative fantasies of perfect love, even though the only love we had ever experienced was extremely flawed. I needed space. I needed to regain my sanity. I needed something I couldn't define. So I did this. I broke up with the only man who had ever been there for me. A man who made me feel so good. A man who I could sit and talk to for hours comfortably, as if I'd finally found my best friend after 35 years. I told him I needed my space. I told him I needed more clarity. There was never a red flag with him, but I had lost control in my life. I wasn't being left alone or listened to as my ex continued to haunt me persistently without any regard for welfare. In the meantime, the most patient, lovable man had been left behind. The past 4 years, I had been married to a man who only wanted to control me, and now I wanted to experience some sense of control, even if it was with a man who gave me all the space I could imagine. I sought that control by breaking up with John. It hurt, but I needed to exert myself to find my voice at last. And what I immediately noticed was that John respected the space I asked for. Never had a man respected me when I asked for space. My ex had no concept of space, boundaries, or respect. Everything was on his terms. Days went by, and I didn't hear from John after the breakup. He understood my request. After several weeks had passed, I reached out to him. We spoke briefly, and then I received an email. An email not asking for a reply. An email sharing thoughts near and dear to my heart. Here's what it said. Hi, Lauren. I wanted to share with you a story from the other day that I thought you might appreciate. I was selected for a national mental health survey sponsored by the U.S. government that I scheduled for yesterday. The woman who conducted the interview and survey began with some introductory questions about demographics and lifestyle. She asked about my religious beliefs. I told her, I'm currently a religious free agent. What is that? She asked, perplexed. I'm considering my options, I told her. But I now believe in God. I used to be a strident agnostic and atheist. So I think that's a bit of improvement. An atheist, she said. I thought she was going to cry, as if she had just seen Bigfoot emerge from the underbrush. Ugh, she kind of did with you sitting in front of her, John. Yes, I replied. That's someone who doesn't believe in God. Someone who thinks we're all alone, left to our own devices on this planet to fend for ourselves. Someone who thinks that innocent people shouldn't be killed by angry terrorists with different beliefs about God. Someone who perceives the universe as fundamentally indifferent, even hostile, to any human wishes or desires. By now, I think she was in tears. Oh, she said, but what changed your mind? What happened? I paused for a moment to collect my thoughts. Then I said, I fell in love. And through that love, I realized that love is a more potent force than anything else. It is an unmovable force that I now equate with God. God is love, and love is God, and that's all that really matters. She seemed encouraged by my response. Are you still with her? She asked. No, I said. But that doesn't change my belief in the potency of love and that the mystery that is God. You live in St. George, she said. Are you Mormon? Not yet, I said, but I've been learning about their beliefs. Oh, no, she said, don't do that. The Mormon religion was founded in witchcraft. I know. I've studied it, and it's true. What? Yeah, this is the survey lady. True, I said. You know what's true? Maybe I should follow you. No, she said. I meant it's not a real religion. It is based upon witchcraft and sorcery. And they're a cult that can't accept gay people and outsiders. I thought, here we go again. I guess Lauren and every other Mormon woman I know is now a witch. It's amazing what ignorance and fear can produce. Right, not yet. Did he become Mormon? I said, I think you're losing sight of the big picture. No religion is literally true or accurate in every detail. The overall philosophy should be what's more compelling. I don't think I'm going to hell because I might drink coffee, but that doesn't mean that the larger message isn't beautiful. She clearly didn't understand my point and looked at me as if I was speaking gibberish. Well, she said, I would stay away from that religion at all costs. You might lose your soul. I think we should move on, I said. Yeah, ancient teapot. Why is he suddenly in St. George? Wasn't he asking her to move to Nevada? Something's up with this. It's not adding up. Who is this guy, and is he really Mormon? Are we sure that's the truth? Can we find him in like a directory? Doesn't the Mormon keep track of people that are Mormon? Isn't there a way to find out? I just wanted to share this story with you. It reminded me of some of our greatest conversations about everything. I miss those conversations. I miss you. I hope you are doing well. Best wishes, John. I was in love. There was no mistaking it. What was I doing? I was in love with a man I kept pushing away, even though he was the man I had been searching for all along. I had to find a way to allow myself to move towards him and to get rid of my ex once and for all. I wanted to give this wonderful man a chance. So here she is. She's back on the wagon. All it took was an email. I wrote to John and asked him to talk. I told him I missed him so much and that I hadn't stopped thinking about him. I told him I felt we belonged together, but I had a final account to settle, and I knew it would be ugly. Christ, are we going to go back to the ex again? Lauren, hold on. I need to take a sneak peek. We're on page 281 of 296. I need to see if there's actually... Okay. There's pictures and shit. Okay. This might not be too brutal. It might not be too brutal. We might just get through it, guys. Can you guys hit the like button for me though? Yeah, Teresa. I think that's in the text too. I think she had an affair on John. I don't have any proof of that. It's just my opinion. My thoughts only, which I'm entitled to have because of the First Amendment of the United States of America, free speech. I can have that opinion that I do think that she fucked around on her marriage. I think she fucked around on John, like she just told us. Discovering no contact. One morning before work at a friend's house while searching for empathy and validation, I told my friend I didn't know how to get my ex to leave me alone. She was stern. Lauren, you need to block him. God, can you imagine being her friend? Oh, thank you for the like, Tiana. I'd heard this mantra repeatedly. Why didn't anyone understand that blocking him wouldn't work? Why didn't people realize my ex would just drive up to Boise if I did such a thing? I told her my concerns. She didn't seem convinced. It didn't matter. I needed to block him, she said. And in that moment, I felt her matter-of-fact strength. I texted him and I told my ex I was blocking him. And then I did. I just think that she cheated. I think that's in the text messages. And I think that's why she's fighting so hard for those to not come out. That's why. So she texted him to say, I'm blocking you. Oh my God. I think so too, Sin. Absolutely. And in that moment, I felt, okay, I texted my ex and told him I was blocking him, and then I did. I left my friend's house and started driving to my apartment. I was anchoring the news that night, and I had to shower and get ready for work. As I made the 5-mile drive home, the anxiety ensued. Gathering momentums and slow waves of dread, I'd lost a bit of control. I didn't know what my ex was thinking, or if he was now planning on driving 5 hours to visit. I was afraid he was already on his way up north. Would he be in front of my apartment when I got off work? I couldn't handle another visit. I knew what blocking him meant. I knew he would likely come again. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the anxiety, the persistence, the manipulation, the insincerity, the control, the love bombing, and the absolute insanity of his delusions. I couldn't sustain another visit from an obsessed ex-husband who obviously did not understand what being an ex-husband meant. I didn't want to see him again, but I knew in his narcissistic delusion of ideal love, one that never existed in reality, he would never respect my boundaries and he would just keep coming back, no matter what I said or did. Just like she did with Christina, I'm blocking you, then would unblock her, start arguing, and block her again. Yep. Bing bong.
Fucking fuzzy slippers and lip gloss.
Oh my God. Here we go again. We're on the fucking tilt-a-whirl with Lauren. Back at my apartment, I unblocked his number to take matters into my own hands. There was a strength and determination rising in me I'd never felt before. My boundaries had been crossed again and again, and I was determined. Never again. Never again, I said to myself. Why have I been so compliant? I called him. I'm engaged. I lied. Do not ever call me again. I told him as expected. He refused to listen. No, Lauren, no. I love you. He was pleading with me. Let's get remarried tomorrow, he said. We will have a baby. I will have you pregnant by Thanksgiving, he actually said. Fuming, desperate, I hung up on him after saying I would never talk to him again. He kept trying to call and text, frantically, maniacally. He respected no boundaries, no respect, no requests, no pleas for my needs and well-being. I didn't want him in my life, but he refused to let go, even as we had been divorced for nearly a year. This craziness had nothing to do with me. A normal human being would have left me alone and respected my wishes after the first request, as John had done when I broke up with him. The contrast was extreme. There was no respect or any boundaries here. He was a cancerous growth, invading my life and refusing to let go. I called one of his family members, whom I trusted, and asked her to tell him to leave me alone. I told her he was refusing to go away. I had never sought help from another person before when my relationship with my ex was troubled. Now I did. I needed him to listen to someone or something. She said she'd call him and tell him. He continued frantically texting. He told me that the family member had called, but he didn't understand what I had wanted her to convey. This situation was getting out of control quickly. He obviously knew exactly what she had said, but he refused to believe it. He really needed to talk to me, he said. That was the only way to remedy the situation. My worst nightmare was happening all over again. There was no boundary he wouldn't cross, no amount of intrusion or harassing that wouldn't satisfy him. I just wanted to be left alone. How complicated was that request? Mama Bear, that's what we heard. Yes, she is. And it's due to money, money, money. He really needed to talk to me. My worst nightmare was happening. I wanted to be left alone. The clock was ticking and I needed to get to work. I couldn't anchor the news with this drama happening. Here we go. Now, again, it's her ex's fault that she can't focus on anchoring. This bitch has gone from street reporter, whatever you call it, to anchoring, back to street reporter, getting another job over here, taking this job back, getting the fucking anchor job back again, and now she can't fucking do it. She just can't fucking do it.
Everybody likes me, everybody hates me, they want me to go eat some worms.
Why was nothing working? I was so determined to end this, but it didn't seem to matter. The loss of control I was experiencing was affecting my body, and I started to shake. My anger was rising. Leave me alone, I kept texting, but he refused. How hard was that request to understand? Then I stopped responding. Cold turkey. Just stopped. He was calling frantically, but I wouldn't answer. I told his family member he wasn't listening to me. He was invading every boundary I had possibly set. One last time, he begged. Just one last time, he said, for closure. He told me he loved me and wanted to remarry me and have my children. He would have said anything to get me back. The phone kept ringing. He was calling me unceasingly. I thought I had entered into a trance, a place I'd never been before. A place I had never wanted to go. Truth, Jennifer McIntyre. And a place I only assume one goes when their boundaries are crossed over and over and over again until one has nothing left to lose. And when someone wants to finally be heard, years of anger and resentment and emotional abuse had finally reached the tipping point. Enough was enough. I picked up the phone without a hello, and I started screaming, "Leave me alone," I yelled. "Leave me alone!" I wasn't stopping. I couldn't stop. The catharsis had begun. My screaming continued from a place I never knew existed until that moment. As he tried to talk and interrupt me, which was the nature of our marriage for many years, I screamed over him. I used words I rarely used before. I called him terrible things at the top of my lungs, screaming uncontrollably, giving voice to my feelings of desperation after many years of being shuttered. In my voice, the anger of every cross boundary and every bit of emotional abuse finally found a home. There was no going back. There was no backing down. The tears were streaming down my face as I continued to scream, tears of desperation, frustration, but also tears of strength and relief. I repeated the words and sentences I was using over and over as he tried to talk. He was trying to overpower me, to have the final word, to tell me what to do, think, and feel. I did not let one sentence he attempted to say be heard, as my voice would not be silenced. This eruption had been building for years. It had to be heard. If he tried talking louder, as he did repeatedly, I screamed louder. We were in a fight, and I was not going to lose this one. This moment was my swim to shore. As the ship burned behind me, I refused to be silenced again. This was my reaction to being emotionally raped for so many years. This was me rising from the ashes of extreme manipulation and emotional abuse. This was me finally accepting that all ending relationships on a good note was for the naive and the foolhardy. And that being a woman who never raised her voice or took a stand when she was mistreated was for those who get walked over and have life chosen for them instead of choosing their life. It was time to choose my life. I needed to be heard. I told him to never call me again. I told him I hated him. I called him an asshole. I was done. I wanted my life back.
The lawn crime.
I hung up and grabbed my makeup. My lungs hurt from screaming so loud. My voice was hoarse. My throat ached. I quickly exited the apartment in case a neighbor had heard me and called the police to report a domestic dispute. I left my apartment in tears and drove to work. But his texts continued unabated. Lauren, I hear you, one text said. That is the text I will always remember. I laughed when I saw it. 5 years of emotional abuse and manipulation and me screaming at the top of my lungs without allowing him to speak. And he finally acknowledges that one time, just one time in those 5 years, he finally heard me. Ironically, of course, he did not hear me because he kept texting frantically that he loved me. And he knew we could make it work even after I had lost my voice, telling him to leave me alone and calling him an asshole. Even after one of the most poignant moments in my life, my ex-husband refused to hear me and to leave me alone. I finally texted him and stated that I was blocking him and I would never talk to him again. And I did. Chapter closed. I have not spoken to him since that moment. Lauren standing up for herself finally equals something. Narcissist equals 0. I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what that is. It looks like a weird, that doesn't even make sense. My life would never be the same after that moment, and I never looked back. This girl, I couldn't read it without the infliction. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever read in my life. I called John that night and told him what I'd done. I told him everything from blocking my ex to unblocking to lying and telling him I was engaged to every terrible thing I said. I cried. He listened. He was grateful. He told me it was okay to be angry. He told me he was proud of me. He told me he understood. Even though I was emotionally distraught, I knew I was finally free. I was free to love John fully and openly without fear. That December, we spent Christmas together in southern Utah. We talked about our future, and I told him I was ready for a commitment. We made an ornament together for our tree. It said, "Our love has come home." I had come home at long last, and I was ready to embrace my new life with authentic love. Oh my God. Here's the fucking ornament. I think all of this was concocted for the book, and I'm hoping this is the end of the fucking book.
Fucking fuzzy slippers and lip gloss.
Here's their little tree. I literally cannot. I cannot with how she portrays Her shit is being so perfect. Oh, this was our little impromptu Christmas with little JL stockings and little JL ornaments. Staged. Put a 1 if you think this shit was staged. Oh God, we're not done. I'm sorry. Okay, finding my happiness. Oh, because we're not married yet. We're not married yet. John proposed less than 2 months later on Valentine's Day. He planned a trip to Delicate Arch in Moab, Utah, and got down on one knee. I said yes. It was magical. A fairy tale beyond all my magical dreams. The one I knew with confidence would only get better. The happily ever after had only just began. So this is allegedly from their engagement. It looks photoshopped. Wait a minute. Why does he have a mic on? Hold on. Lauren, what are you doing? Is that a lapel mic on his tie? What is that? Why is he wearing a lapel mic? Could he get back up? Oh my God. Chapter 12, the DNA test. Fuck. This is all staged. I don't believe any of it. I think this is all fabricated shit. He's got a mic on. It was all staged. It was all fucking staged, recorded, lapel mic and shit. Oh, come on. That was the engagement. She said it was at Delicate Arch in Moab. I flew back to Boise with a ring on my finger and a plan to move to Las Vegas. Why were they in Utah if she's moving to Las Vegas? There's something with John and Utah. There's definitely something going on because she keeps saying they're going to move to Las Vegas, but yet he's in St. fucking George. I thought St. George was like all Mormons. I don't believe it. I don't believe their story. I don't believe they are who they say they are. I just don't. I think it's all fabricated and all a lie. And I don't believe any of them, of what they say. Oh, fuck. I shared the news about our engagement on social media. As a kid, I'd hear about Gloria Steinem's radical feminist theories. They were usually being debated or mocked, but I liked her. I liked her strength. I liked her voice. I liked the conversation. I like to either agree or disagree with her. Da 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 da. I'm not even reading her fucking post, fucker. A younger cousin of mine called me a few weeks later. In her early 20s, she was in a relationship and was unsure if she wanted to marry him. She was praying to God for answers, and the confusion continued. Bravely, she had called to ask me about my divorce and newfound love. What was different, she asked. Did you pray to God about your ex? I told her I did pray about marrying my ex. And I had asked God if it was right. I told her that God told me it was a decision I was trusted to make on my own. There was no wrong or right answer. Was that the same answer you received about John? She asked. Was it different? I thought about this question for the first time, and I told her I realized I didn't have to pray and ask God if I should or shouldn't marry him. My feelings for him and how I felt about him were my answer. There was no doubt to sort out. It was that simple. If you're conflicted about a relationship to a degree you need to ask God for help, then it's probably the wrong relationship. Real love does not require divine intervention to work. Wow, Lauren, that's pretty strong fucking advice there. A lot of people turn to God for counseling and go to their church for counseling for marriage issues. She understood and we hung up. She never did marry that man she was dating. Lauren, that was your first life coaching call? Am I mannequin? In retrospect, I do not regret my first marriage. I don't think it was a wrong choice. It taught me life lessons that led me to John, which now allow me to help others navigate their way through treacherous relationships. Shut up. Oh my God. Teresa says I shout for God when I have great sex. See, this is where she wanted to start doing life coaching. You are not in a position, Lauren, to help anyone navigate through shit. I've been blessed to help others. True Crime with Eve. Damn, that's spot on. Find the love they've always dreamed of having. In my list of thank yous to the men I have dated in that spiral notebook, my husband is at the top of the list. Written next to his name is thank you. I've learned so many lessons from a bad marriage. How to believe in myself when no one else does. How to stand up for myself when being mistreated. How to discover what I did not want in a relationship and what I did want. How to focus upon what really matters in life and love. How to be open to the unknown and unexpected, which included marrying a man outside my faith, and how to be courageous even when you lack courage. I have found so much courage since my divorce and even during it. To move on from a toxic relationship doesn't mean you've made the wrong choice or that you were fooled. It might provide pearls of wisdom or a pearl necklace that can allow you to bravely open up new doors. When you think all the doors are closed and there's no way out and you believe the room is full of deadly snakes, my advice is keep going. Just keep moving one foot in front of the other until you leave the room. And eventually you will leave the room. You will find the door that you need to find. It may be difficult and heartbreaking, but you will find your way out. I did, even though it wasn't particularly obvious how to get out. One foot in front of the other. That's all it takes. Keep moving to the places in your life that feel right, safe, and true, and trust yourself, even when you're in a relationship with someone who is trying to erode that trust. Your authentic voice will eventually shine through if you keep placing one foot in front of the other. There's always a way out of the room if you can muster the courage to keep moving. I believe in you and in your journey towards healing. We all have more strength, wisdom, and courage than we ever imagined. I found mine, and I hope you can discover yours. I am so grateful to have shared my journey with you, and I hope it can help you find your way out. I can see the exit. It's not as far as you think. Good luck, and have a safe journey. And then we have these photos, which don't look real either. Look at this. It looks totally photoshopped. You sneaky snakes. You sneaky, sneaky snakes. What is this? Oh. Lauren, you have weird hands. Okay, so then John Fairbanks Matthias was born on 7/21/2017. So 2016 is when they got married, I'm assuming. This would be summer. And then the next summer, the kid was born. So she got pregnant right away, y'all. About the author. After Lauren married her soulmate, Dr. John Matthias, the two of them moved to southern Utah, so they didn't move to Las Vegas, where Lauren worked as a reporter for Utah's ABC affiliate until their baby boy turned a year old. Together, John and Lauren began Strive Psychology, www.strivepsychology.com, where Lauren works as a relationship coach, helping women and men heal from toxic relationships and discover the love they've always dreamed of having. She is also a sought-after speaker, sharing her message and bringing awareness to the hidden signs of emotional abuse. You can contact her at Lauren R. Matthias at Gmail or her Instagram. What? What it says. That she works as a relationship coach. Unreal. They did, Dr. Macy. And then didn't she say in the Mormon stories that John couldn't get any work because he wasn't Mormon? They said they got married with the Justice of the Peace. Ooh. Strive was 8 miles from Jody Hildebrandt's home. Interesting. Boo. It reminded me a lot of Jody Arias and Jody Hildebrandt. I think we're done with it, Sim. We can fucking celebrate. We're done. Hallelujah. Let's get the turkeys to celebrate or something. Fuck. Woohoo. I find it interesting, though, that she quit her job after a year. Like, that's the most important time to be with your baby. So I wonder if he was home with the baby for the first year. Oh my goodness, that was horrible. That was so hard to get through, but thank you. I give this book 1 out of 5 stars. Can we get some tomatoes in chat, please? She said they eloped? Yeah, there's people in here that know her ex, and I don't think he's willing to talk, but I would be willing to speak with him if anybody knows him or he wants to tell a story. But if I was him, I wouldn't blame him for staying far, far away from this one. My goodness. I mean, she really painted him to be horrible. Someone said, look, no pregnancy belly. Do you think she had a surrogate? Is there any pictures of her pregnant? That's a question I have. Are there any pictures of her pregnant, like her belly? Because, you know, they'd be the people that would have like him kissing her belly and stuff like that. Jessica Rose, what's in their YouTube? Is Lauren still a practicing Mormon? Lauren has been invited to speak at the conference next year, right? She says she's Mormon, but she says she's not. Thank you, Love Always. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh, me too, Megan. She has, wait, what? I get that she has engagement and all that, but does she have pregnant? See, ones? Well, Jammers, can you picture it? Like a black and white picture on the wall of him kissing her belly? You guys all deserve a badge for surviving the entire book. Thank you so much. Scroll down on the baby photo. Yeah, I mean, her face looks a little puffy, though. She might have actually had him, but Janice said she's Mormon when it benefits her. Right. You feel like she manipulated him into the marriage? Me too. No, that was Thrive that Shanann Watts sold. Thrive, not Strive. And that was different. She's speaking at a Thrive conference, but Thrive is not the same. He was early. Oh my God, there's the blue dress. Ark. Holy shit, that's a great way to end. Ark says, there's the mofo, the blue dress. Oh, you guys are too fucking much. I couldn't imagine reading this book with a better group of people. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for liking this video and watching me put up with my madness. She kisses his belly like a Buddha. They're charging $101 for her book on Amazon Canada. Thank you, Kels.
For making it happen.
Imagine living with her while pregnant. Oh my God. Thank you, Snazzy, for your super chat. Wait, they have, okay, let me pull up this video. They allegedly have a video of their elope engagement marriage video. Okay, let's go check it out. Let's check it out real quick. Engagement. Where do I find it? Shanann Watts was Thrive, not Strive. Thrive. Where can I find that video, though? Happy anniversary, John and Lauren Matthias forever. That one. Is it an anniversary video? That's the only one I'm seeing. Thank you, Sim. Oh, it's on their website, hiddentruecrime.com. Thank you, CNN. All right, let's go to their website. hiddentruecrime.com. Okay, where am I going? About? Okay. Okay, the conversation set their stage for an eventual romance and marriage in July 2016. They discussed a brutal murder during their first conversation, and they have been discussing crime ever since. After their marriage in July, Dr. John and Lauren contemplated starting a true crime podcast. So nothing in here about this strive. But where's the video, y'all? I don't see any engagement videos. Hey, Beans. Let's go to media. Yesterday's chapter spoke about her considering IVF, right? She went down there and found out it was 10 grand. I'm not seeing it. I don't know where to find it, guys. The only thing I can find is the engagement, or I mean the anniversary. I think it's on the lore. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dripping. She has a YouTube channel called Lauren Matthias, or I mean Lauren Johnson. Okay, thank you. All right, let me see. And her name is Ruthie 1900, by the way. I found it. Yeah, she paid $350 to find out it was going to cost $10,000 to have IVF. Oh, here it is. John and Lauren proposal at Delicate Arch. Here we go.
Left college and I was traveling around the country.
I cannot.
This is one of the first places I came. And I hiked up here and I didn't know what to do with my life. I knew I wanted to do something that helped other people. And number two, I had a vision that someday the woman I would meet would be here when I proposed to her. And then someday I would return to this place when I found the special person. And I've been waiting all these years to find her. And it's been frustrating. It's been heartbreaking. But I had hope. And when I met you, I knew it was you. And it's always been you, even before I knew you. If we persist, and if we respect each other, and if we're grateful for each other every day.
Why is everything a production with them?
And we can make this love endure. Yes. And as a symbol of that love and that endurance, I was given a very special ring that I didn't know existed until 3 weeks ago. And that ring was given to me by my mother, whose grandmother gave it to her. And that ring was given to my grandmother on October 25th, 1929, which was 4 days before the stock market crashed. As a symbol of enduring love and persistence and gratitude.
Look, she's wearing ballet flats. Shout out Janice. Yeah, this is so fake. Fake, scripted, nothing genuine about it.
And eternity. And never giving up and appreciating each other every day. As a symbol of that. The most important question I've ever asked anybody in my life. And that is, will you, Lauren Ruth Johnson, the love of my life, the woman I love more than anything,
Sam,
the woman who means everything to me, who makes me better, proud, appreciative, grateful, everything, will you marry me?
Yes, John Michael Matthias. I will marry you.
Thank you. Will you accept this ring as a token of my love?
I cannot with this. Who did the filming for this? This is pitiful. Look at this. Lauren plus John. Oh, thanks to Dan Herbis for videography. Dan Herbis. I don't know. We haven't covered the Mormon stories. That's my next feat, is to go over the long ass Mormon stories. And we're going to do it while this book is fresh in our heads. So I'm thinking that is what we're going to start doing tomorrow, you guys. Because I got to do it while it's in my damn head. Tempest with the icons. Mannequin with the tongue. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right, well, we made it through. Thank you, you guys. I'm going to wrap this one up. Let's see if we can't get a song up here to dance it out to. Let's get in our Cooter DeVille and we'll start reviewing Mormon stories tomorrow. Fuck, I'm all in. And I hope you're all in with me too. Please hit the like button on your way out.
A Cooter DeVille. I think the devil drives a Cooter DeVille.